Hello fellow humans. Last week I told you a story about how society might feel like if degrowth policies are implemented in the next 5 to 8 years. That story and this video are the beginning of a long series of stories and essays I will write about degrowth that you will get to watch on this channel. Degrowth is the planned downscaling of energy and resource use to bring the economy back into balance with the living world in a safe, just, and equitable way. Degrowth is prosperity without economic growth. This new way of thinking about life and the economy is determined by the hard material limits of Earth. Humans have pushed strong and fast past these limits, and we are now on the verge of ecological collapse and the extinction of Homo sapiens in the very near future. We have to stop this race into the abyss. Degrowth is the solution. From the many policies put forward by the degrowth movement, having a low maximum income and a low maximum wealth for each human is the beginning for setting limits to how much we consume from Earth and how much we waste back into Earth. This is what I will talk about today. I will cut to the chase and tell you numbers up front. We need to consider a maximum income of about 90,000 euros or about $100,000 per person per year, and a maximum personal wealth of 2 million euros or $2.2 million per person. One way to decide these amounts is to look at the world inequality data and start from there. We can take the income of all humans and divide it by the number of all humans to get an average. We can then multiply this average by a small factor, let us say 6, and we have a maximum income. Why 6? Because that is what people want, according to this study. I'm telling you this punchline up front to set a framework for thinking, perspective, urgency, and magnitude for the radical changes we need to do to our lifestyle, economy, and relation to Earth. Let us cover the reasons, objections to this proposal. Number 1, inequality. You have probably heard by now that during the pandemic, billionaires doubled or tripled their wealth to unfathomable amounts. According to the World Inequality Database and many other sources, the global 50% of humans take 8% of total income, and they own just 2% of the wealth. The global top 10% of humans own 76% of total wealth and take 52% of total income. On top of that, the same top 10% of humans are responsible for 50% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Why is that? It's because capitalism, and more specifically the obsession of capitalism, with an economy based on material growth. Those emissions, the opulent and extremely wasteful lifestyle of the richest humans in the global north, are destroying Earth and will make it uninhabitable for the next generation and even for some of you watching this. Logic dictates that we need to stop consumption and waste, and we do that by drastically reducing income and wealth. The objection to this point is that this will cut into the freedom of many humans to consume and have the lifestyle they deserve. The answer to the objection is absolutely yes, it will affect the lifestyle of some 1 to 10% of humans, but it will not cut their freedoms. On the contrary, having a maximum income and maximum wealth will vastly expand the freedom of all humans to live in prosperity within the limits of Earth. Imagine the beginning of a Star Trek-like society where riches don't matter, where life is about well-being and exploration. Number 2, a moral universal foundation. Limits to income and wealth are not about punishing humans who have worked hard. The intent of setting the limits for all humans is to establish a common foundation of moral principles that binds and unites all of us simply because we share the same small planet. We need such principles. Societies cannot operate in isolation. Lithium mined in Africa is shipped to China to become batteries for electric cars and iPhones that are then shipped all over the world. Wheat from Ukraine travels to Egypt, Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Lebanon. We are connected and we need each other. This is why we can set maximum incomes and maximum wealth also as ratios from the lowest salary to the highest. For example, if the lowest salary in Canada is, let's say, $2,400 per month, assuming a $15 per hour minimum wage and a 40-hour work week, then the maximum salary would be $14,400 per month, which gives us a ratio of 1 to 6. Ratios establish a relation between humans, a connection, a mutual dependability. Even the hardest working human depends on others for their success. If capitalism allows the staggering inequalities that we have today, it does not mean that they are legitimate, useful, and moral. They have been manufactured artificially by humans because power, ownership, capital, and growth are fundamentally and inseparably linked. This is a feature of the system which must be undone. Therefore, wealth can also be determined as a ratio. For example, 100 times the median annual wage. This means any wealth above 2 million euros will be taxed 100%. This includes cash, real estate, stocks, bonds, Ferraris, boats, castles, diamonds, everything that could have a socially useful value. Note here that I say socially useful value, not market value. Markets determine prices, but they rarely determine value in the sense of what is truly useful for covering basic human needs. A Picasso may have a price in dollars, but its value is not quantifiable in numbers. The objections to this point say that meritocracy is built into the market economy and has no bearing on connection to other humans. It is purely individualistic. That is why Elon Musk has almost $300 billion and his employees are nowhere near that. He had all the strengths of character, intellect, and ability to make use of the system to amass the wealth. It is fair because it is legal and because it is tradition. The answer to the objection is that none of that is true. There are many other humans almost identical or superior in character, intellect, imagination, ambition to Elon Musk, but they do not have the same wealth. Tradition tries to be an argument for human nature, but it's not. Tradition is what humans decide to repeat over a long period of time. Human nature is fluid. It is on a wide spectrum. Traditions rise and fall. They are not permanent. Luck also does not yield merit, or vice versa. Luck is also a feature and the bug of the market economy. It is artificial. Luck pretends to imitate nature, pretends to give human features to events that appear to be outside humans. In reality, all luck of wealth and status is a social construction. It happens because we created the notion of luck and a cult with no material limits around it. The end of this cult is the beginning of freedom for all humans. Number 3, restitution, apology, solidarity. The third reason we need maximum incomes and maximum wealth is that they must complement minimum incomes and minimum wealth. This complementarity comes from the indubitable fact that the wealth of the global north, as defined by the Brandt line, is largely a result of imperialism, exploitation, and violence by the north against the south. Not only the exploitation needs to stop now and allow the global south to develop on its own terms and achieve a sustainable level of prosperity, but also the north needs to implement restitution, apology, and solidarity, which may happen in various forms: debt cancellation, cessation of natural resources exploitation, end of capital drain such as profits moved out of poorer countries, end of labor exploitation, restitution of land to local farmers that can continue agroecology practices. When maximum income and maximum wealth is law, the excess capital from the north can be liberated to flow towards the south to develop well-being. Of course, the main objection is that the north is already helping the South with hundreds of billions of so-called financial aid, training on technology, charity for eradicating illnesses, and know-how for exploiting resources. The North is allegedly sharing the benefits with the South. Under scrutiny, the objection is easily refuted because what the North gives with one hand takes back multiplied with the other hand. With the help of degrowth policies, this uneven, unfair, and utterly exploitative exchange needs to change. The winners will not only be the people of the South who will get the chance at decent prosperity, but also the people of the North, themselves exploited internally by capitalism. Putting limits on income and wealth brings prosperity up for everybody. As you probably remember from my video with the many alternatives to capitalism, we need to find the right system that maintains a balance between minimum standards of living and maximum limits given by planetary boundaries, as shown in the donut economics model. We can now move to the next point. Number 4, unpacking the story of degrowth. The story of degrowth from last week is fiction. It will be part of a sequel to my book, The Urban Dictionary of Very Late Capitalism, link below. In the book, I explore with satire a somewhat dystopian future where capitalism goes beyond rampant by the year 2070 and defies absurdity. It's a potpourri of Wall-E, Elysium, Matrix, and the metaverse. I do not believe in that future. I believe we should bring back utopic stories and build a hopeful future. I'm tired of dystopias. So in the story from last week, we had the former capitalist who could not deal psychologically with the fact that humans have adopted degrowth and life on Earth was saved by the year 2050. He struggled with deeply ingrained habits of wealth. He finds the light at the end of the tunnel in the form of solidarity from another human who was cured of this obsession with growth. Let us now look at a real story from Sam Pizzigatti's book, The Case for a Maximum Wage. In early 2017, no executive in North America struck investors as more attractive and valuable than Hunter Harrison. This veteran corporate chief demanded and won a $230 million four-year pay package to take the reins at the railroad powerhouse CSX. What made him worth that windfall to the CSX board of directors? Harrison, as the CEO at Canadian Pacific, had turned around a lackluster operation. The secret to his success? He eliminated the jobs of 17,000 Canadian Pacific employees, 34% of the workforce. There are many examples like these. Behind all great incomes and wealth, there's always something immoral, illegal, or unjust. Without exception, without caveat. As rational beings, we have the ability to craft the moral guidelines for our civilization. At a minimum, these guidelines ought to include limits for income and wealth that will prohibit greedy humans to abuse the freedoms of others. Therefore, dear fellow humans, I think our struggle is twofold. We need to choose the path of reasonable hope and fantastic determination. Degrowth policies are optimistic and utopic. They are very necessary, and realistically, all scientists, from IPCC to many NGOs and think tanks, say the same thing. This is the most difficult struggle in the history of humanity, with stakes that cannot be any higher. Thank you for watching. Until next week, please look up. Click here to watch this video or this video to learn more.